Hello, my name is Nadia Strachan, and thank you for joining me on this design consultation. Now, I have been an interior designer for over 20 years, and I have taken many people through many design consultations, and I've seen how they have changed their stories through their interiors, and in turn, in whether a small way or in a large way, it has changed their lives. And so now I'm definitely of the philosophy, if you start to change your journey, you will change your life, because I've seen it happen over and over and over again. So I really do believe it happened from experience. So I really feel privileged to be able to travel with you on this interior design journey, and as you go with me through this download. Now, the first thing I want to say to you is please print off your sheets. Now, you have chosen the boutique hotel owner's Annex hallway consultation. So this is the Annex hallway. So this is the hallway section that belongs to this the owners of this hotel. Now, this hotel is it. Now, let me start by telling you this. This does not have to be your story or your scenario. I've just chosen different scenarios to put something in context so that we can relate how this possibly could be used in a context. It doesn't have to be your context, but it just helps to give us a little story to be able to follow. So that's what this story scenario is all about. So this is a 20 bed boutique hotel. Now, you may not have a 20 bedroom boutique hotel. That's fine. This is just an example. You may have a bed and breakfast, or you may just have a business, or you maybe just like the look of the annex and you decided that works for me. Maybe you have a domestic home, even though this is a commercial annex. It doesn't matter, because this leads to the domestic quarters within a commercial property. So it can work for both, for whether it's domestic or commercial, it's fine. This works for both. So you're okay, you're still in the right place, okay? So the owners of this, so this is the Mendoza family. And so this is a picture of the Mendoza family here. So you can see here, this is Rowena and Alexandra and Gabrielle. So Gabby and Alex, we call them. Okay, and so Gabby lives actually on site with her husband Leo, because it's a 20 bed hotel, and so to manage it, so there's a picture of Gabby and Leo. Gabby's the youngest in her family there, and she and her husband, you could see them studiously looking at the books for the hotel there. So that's there. And now this is their wonderful annex that leads to their home. So we can imagine what their home looks like. This is just the annex. And so this is a corridor. This corridor leads to the annex. Also, this corridor is also reflective of the style of corridor that they have in the rest of the hotel as well. So it's just this has been used in the rest of the hotel as the corridor, but also you can see that this annex here, this annex is not the hotel stairway. This is they just go into the actual live-in quarters for one of the owners of the hotel. So that's what that is. So just to explain that to you. Now, I have decided that this is a silver scheme. Most of the hotel would be a gold scheme, but this annex section is actually a silver scheme. We have bronze scheme, silver scheme, and gold scheme. So there are 3 different types of schemes. Now I've given them in UK and US. Now the UK price, which is in, you can equate that if you're in Europe, and you can equate that as euros, and that's fine. But I've got it in pounds sterling, so it's in pounds. And also the US, so anywhere in these sort of Americas, so I've got that in dollars as well, so that appeals to that. Now, if you're not in the US or in Europe or the UK, that's fine. You can still use the scheme because there are websites for all of the schemes. So you can just click on the websites and you'll be able to see if there's stores or suppliers or manufacturers in your country or that will be able to provide you with the correct items and materials that you can use to create this beautiful scheme. Okay, so that is something that you can definitely do for yourself. Okay, so moving on from that, one thing that I would say is I have put this into DIY. Now there's DIY, trade, and DIY, and is combinations too. So the first one being full DIY. Full DIY is whereby you put together this scheme all yourself. You do it all yourself. Obviously you buy the items yourself, but you actually implement them yourself. You install them yourself. That's a full DIY route. I would say when it comes, if you don't have the light fittings already in place, because that's just simply a lamp shade. Okay, so that's quite an easy fitting. If those light fittings are not in shade, you need to rewire. Please, if you're not an electrician, for health and safety reasons, please get an electrician to come in and do that for you, rather than you trying to rewire it yourself. I know YouTube helps you a lot, but I would say it's always safe to get it safety checked off, and you get a certificate to be able to do this yourself, to get a trade person to do it, rather than you trying to do it yourself. Okay, so that's something to do. So now if you look at it, this isn't really a tricky scheme. It isn't that tricky. That's why it's a silver scheme rather than a gold scheme. It isn't that tricky. Obviously the flooring is a highly polished flooring, because that runs all the way through. The only part is there's some bespoke flooring on the stairwells, bespoke flooring here, and so the polished black flooring here, because we've got a black outer flooring and we've got an inner white polished floor there, and they're just floor tiles that have been put in this pattern, and then we've got a carpet runner there which has been secured to the floor because they have a rubber matting underneath with suctions, and then the mat on top is actually secured so that there's no slippage at all. That's very important, especially in a hallway when you put matting on top of especially a polished floor. Very important that it's got rubber under, and with suctions, additional suctions as well to keep it in place. Okay, then on the stairwells we've actually got the same polished floors on the risers. So the risers are really quite interesting. They're actually polished risers, and then the actual treads are actually the same flooring as we have on the actual hallway runner there. So that works really beautifully, and we've got this beautiful, very simple metal balustrade. If you have a wooden balustrade, this is a lovely look because this ties in with the rest of the hotel. So I've given you the details for this. If you simply want to keep the wooden balustrade that you already have, I would say then paint. If you have a wooden balustrade and it's just a plain balustrade, then paint the actual rods black. Paint them black. So that ties in with the scheme, and the handrail as well is actually either painted black or stained black as well, if you're going to go the DIY route with this. Okay, so that's something to bear in mind if you're going to go that full route. This is not something that's when you read the actual breakdown for your scenarios, the scenario tells you about how Leo and Gabby use the space and how this equates to them. So that gives you that sort of context. When I'm talking to you now in the video, this is about how you yourself, having a consultation with me, how you can use the space and how this can relate to you and all the different options that are available to you to create this space, either going the full DIY route or going part DIY, part trade, where you bring tradesmen in to maybe lay the floors or to do other aspects, or full DIY where you purchase all the items, you have maybe the items on site, or you order the items and you get the tradesmen to actually install them. Usually a lot of the places, the suppliers or manufacturers that you actually purchase items from actually have the tradesmen that they use to install their old products. So that's a really good way to go to actually get these tradesmen to install their own products. So you don't have to go hunting around finding where will I find these tradesmen to install them. The places what you purchase the products from, they actually have their own tradesmen, usually that they can recommend, or they actually use to install their products for them. So you can go that way for part DIY, part trade, or full trade. So that's another way to do it. And if you want to go full DIY, like I say, if you have the skills, you can do it yourself, or there is a YouTube, and YouTube tells you so much today that you can learn how to do it. It's just the difference between this taking possibly up to 1 week to do, or 1 or 2 weeks at the most, or if you do it yourself, you could be looking at 1 to 2 months. So that's the difference between 1 to 2 weeks or 1 to 2 months. It's entirely up to you, whichever route works for you, or somewhere in between. Okay? So that's just to make you aware of that. Now, there are aspects of this which I want to draw to your attention, which I think are really important, really key. Okay. There are bespoke aspects of this. It's not to say you can't do this yourself. You can. Everything can be done yourself if you find a way how to do it. There are on the walls here, this is what makes this such a sumptuous interior. On the walls here, you have soft white leather panelled doors. These walls are panelled, and behind them there's storage. If you don't have the space for storage and it's simply a corridor, then they can just be plain MDF panels which are covered with the white leather, and then you have upholstery pins that create that panelled look. Upholstery pins, they're upholstery studs, so they have a head on them. Now the upholstery studs, I would say go for either the bronze look, or you can even go for a black look to go with this. I wouldn't say with this scheme to go with chrome. Chrome is not quite the look for this interior. I'd say a brass or a burnished bronze or an antique, or something with those sort of the rich sort of golds sort of family would go with this, or black, but not bronze, not really the silver route. This is more going towards the sort of warm, the warmer sort of rich tones for this. So with these panels, they're leather panels. You can buy them from upholsterers. You can buy they don't have to be real leather. They're incredibly expensive. You can buy faux leather, white faux leather. You stretch it over the MDF or over the doors, and you can panel pin it. You can get the tradesman. If you could, I will say where you get this done. You can get tradesmen who will actually come and actually install this for you, so you can actually buy the whole thing and have it installed. So this other that's the way to go about that. When it comes to actually the light fittings, they're quite simple, because it's simply hanging a lampshade. the beautiful lampshade. So you can actually do that yourself. The way we decorate with this, we start with the ceilings and then we do the walls, okay? The floors are laid last and we put in, then we install the fitting, the same thing. These picture frames, the picture frames can be bought from places like IKEA. There is generally an IKEA in most countries, I think now. They're pretty much around most places around the world. The reason why I say IKEA is because the uniformity that you can buy with the picture frames. And so I'd say to create this beautiful, you know, you can use your own black and white images and put them in. I would say stick with the black and white images rather than color, but black and white works beautifully with this scheme. Put your own black and white images, or you can buy the black and white images because they generally come with the picture frames anyway, or you can buy black and white images from the places that you buy the picture frames from, or you can simply print out your favorite prints if you have a very good printer and put them in your own picture frame, in the picture frames as well. So that's quite a simple thing to do there. The walls generally are painted white throughout, except these walls here in the stairwell. This wall here is not white. This is sort of an ivory color. It's like an ivory color. And the reason why I didn't do this a brilliant white is because the picture frames, the frames in the picture frame are white, and for the black and white picture and the picture frames not to all sort of meld into the wall, for it to stand out and for them to be their feature. They're sort of a standalone feature. So I have decided to go for an ivory just to give it a little bit of a contrast against the beautiful picture. It's just a simple thing to do. Once you've drawn out your grid on the, then you just simply grid it out. I'd say please use masking tape as your grid on your walls rather than using pencil marks. Use masking tape to line, to get your grid. Use a measure and masking tape to be able to get them straight, and then to be able to drill your holes. And then you can simply peel away your masking tape once you've drilled your holes with your screw heads, and then just hang your pictures. And that's a much easier way to do, because with the masking tape you'll be able to literally put your format on the wall, and it's so easy to do. Now, the match pots for the paint, please don't put the match pot directly onto the wall. Paint it onto a big piece of paper. Paint the paper, okay? Paint the paper, and then stick the paper onto the wall, and then you'll be able to see what that looks like, that ivory colour looks like, in all the different lights at different times of day, okay? And then you'll be able to take it off when you don't want it to be there, and so your hallway will not look unsightly whilst you're waiting for the renovation to happen, okay? So, things to do. If you're going to do the handrail yourself, do it first, because it can be quite messy, and then cover it with newspaper, just tape over it to keep it clean whilst you're painting the ceiling and the walls and getting everything done first, and then the light fittings, and put them in, and then the floor would be last. Now at the back here, this is something that, this is not a very long hallway. It looks huge, really long, and the reason why this hallway looks so long and so deep is because the whole of that wall is just glass, it's just mirror. It's mirror. And it's floor to ceiling mirror. Now, if you can get this done as one solid piece, it's not cheap, great, do it. You would have to get a glazier to come in, a glass fitter to come in and to actually measure that space, and they would bring it in as one piece and they would put it in. That is the highest way of doing it. Or you can get strip mirror strips. That's the next way to do it. Or you can buy mirror tiles. Mirror tiles. Now, if you're going to buy mirror tiles, what I would say is, first of all, put your mirror tiles on the wall using a double-sided sort of tape, just to sort of put it in, because not many straight. You're going to have to cut some. They're not usually flush walls. But I would use, the Velcro. Velcro is, if you're going to use mirror tiles, if you're going to use mirror tiles, use Velcro. And so you put once, this sticky, it has like a tooth and a pad. So one side on the wall, on one side on the actual mirror itself. That's what, when you take it off. That way, if there's any problems and any part of your mirror gets smashed for whatever reasons, I don't know, a cleaning trolley might bump into it, or and it might get a crack, then you can simply take off that part of the square mirror tile and then replace it. How easy is that? And how wonderful is that? Isn't that fantastic? So you could go, oh yes, it would be like almost like a patchwork wall, but you still get the effect of having that double aspect, that elongating of your hallway, but also it's low maintenance as well, because you can take it off and replace it if that tile gets damaged. And that's fantastic, because if you have a solid piece, obviously if there's a crack, it's very expensive. You can have to replace it. If you're going to get a solid piece, I would say you can get toughened glass. Get toughened glass. Very important. If you're going to go to the trouble of doing a solid piece, get toughened glass. It's a little bit more expensive, but because you don't have the ability to be able to remove that section and to be able to piece in another section, then you need to get the toughened glass, and you can get that sort of glass. It's a safety glass and it's a toughened glass. So if somebody bumps into it, it won't shatter and it probably won't break. Okay, it will take an awful lot to break it. But if you're really worried about it, I would say use the mirror tiles, and that's another way to do it. I've explained how you can do it with that, with the walls to get your great look, and the rug, wonderful rug, keep yourself safe with that. And the planters, any garden centre, you generally get those from, and they don't have to be square. I've kept them in squares just to go in with the walls, but you can get a circular planter, a tall planter. Please make them as tall as possible, because that will coincide with the actual ceiling fitting as well, and that's really quite a nice thing to do. And if you want to go extra mile and and put a strip on it, put a banding like you got on the ceiling shade, then do that as well. It's yours. You can make it more yours if you wish. As I say, with the hallway, very simple to do. These carpet treads, they come pre-made. You can either get them bespoke, but they do have pre-made carpet treads, which you simply they have a double-sided sticker underneath. You just peel it off, stick it on. How easy is that? And that's one of the easiest things to do with that. And then you have the matting, I say on the landing, you have a smaller matting that you can use on the landing as you go up the stairs. Depends how many stories you're going up into your private annex area. So that is a wonderful thing. If, as I say, you may not use this as a commercial, it may be domestic. This will work just as well. It'd be beautiful. Who wouldn't want to walk up this beautiful staircase and along this luxurious hallway? It's just wonderful. I think it's a beautiful piece, a beautiful interior. and it really is a nod to a sort of a modern take on you know, the sort of boutique chic look. And now, as I said with the other, with at the beginning, if you, it's going to be in 4 sections. First, section 1 will be myself explaining this to you, section 1, and section 2 is the photo analysis, explaining to you who the people are, the owners of the hotel, giving you a scenario, as you can see there, Gabby and Leo, and also the beautiful interior that that they have for their annex hallway. And then also in this section there is their analysis of how Gabby and Leo use their hallway. This is just to give you ideas, okay? My talking to you tells you how you can best use your hallway as your consultant. I'm telling you how you can best make the most out of your hallway and produce this hallway. This is just telling you how this scenario can play out, because it gives us ideas, you know, for this commercial operation. The next part of the next video will be me explaining to you about the suppliers and all the products, and how we actually bring this scheme together to create this wonderful hallway. And so I'm really looking forward to you joining me for the next part of this, so I can explain to you about the key, which is the overview, and also the breakdown for your suppliers and manufacturers. Please join me with that. Look forward to you joining me on the next part of this journey. Thank you.